guys, thanks for joining Legally Exhausted Podcast. We're here with Carlos Arce, an amazing attorney, healthcare attorney, located here in Delray Beach.
Yep.
Delray Beach, Florida. Are you just licensed in Florida, or are you licensed in other states?
I'm licensed in Washington, D.C. as well.
Oh, okay, cool. Are you planning on using that to get licensed in multiple other states, or you just kind of, okay.
Yeah,
cool,
so for a healthcare attorney, a lot of larger Department of Justice type issues involve the office out of D.C., so I always find that it's helpful to have that in case I need to go represent a client who may need to appear before any CMS type hearings that are in DC, so I can be licensed there, and it's opportunistic. As well as we have a lot of doctors that are based out of New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania that are migrating down here. So I find it easy. That's a state that allows you to be able to graduate into those states through a shorter exam to be barred.
Yeah, I got the same thing going in Michigan, so I feel Michigan has a similar thing. I think the timing worked out better for me to do Michigan than DC, because when I graduated, it was just different. But awesome. So we're going to talk about you.
Okay.
We met a few years ago.
Yep.
And we reconnected recently.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to have you on. The most recent time I called you, I had a situation. I had a client who was the Department of Insurance Fraud was calling the client saying, hey, we want to talk to you. And I don't do criminal stuff. I understand civil, but criminal's not my realm. And, obviously I said, we got to talk to the healthcare attorneys. So we got you on the phone. You talked to him, and everything kind of got straightened out with that. So I want to talk about, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? Carlos Arce, what are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Abe, thank you for having me today. And obviously, it's great to reconnect with you. And I think you're fabulous. And I love what you're doing with the personal injury space. So thank you for that.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
So I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida, native Miamian, immigrant parents. My father is Cuban. My mother is Nicaraguan Lebanese.
Nice.
I grew up in healthcare. My family owned primary care clinics. So growing up, I worked from front desk to medical records retrieving. And I got my training as a young adult working at the clinic and helping
Getting
my
yelled
family.
At by the staff. Hurry up and do this, giving you a tough time.
Exactly, and that's what got my passion to become an attorney, because as we grew, our practices got larger. We were a tri-county area. We were in Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach. We were working with a lot of law firms, and I found it interesting that the lawyers, how they protected the physicians and the medical providers. And I think for us, that's our passion, right? We love the medical providers, and we love to do right by them. So it worked out. I ended up going to Nova Law.
Okay.
I did FIU for undergrad. That's where I got my degree.
Go Panthers.
Yeah, go Panthers. And I ended up doing Nova over University of Miami because of the health law department. There's a healthcare program at Nova, and I knew coming in that I needed to get those classes in so that I was properly trained when I came out into the real world. The program is great. We're actually the #1 health law program in the state, and I think we're #7 in the country right now. So very proud of Nova for doing that.
Cool.
I stay involved with the school. I mentor a lot of the young lawyers, the young students and lawyers that come out and want to do healthcare law. So a lot of people use me as a resource. So if you're a Nova grad or a Nova active student that's interested in health law, reach out to me. I can shed some light on the industry.
Cool. When you talked about first place in healthcare law, I was thinking about your firm. Your firm, where you're at right now, is nationwide help for medical practices.
That's right.
I actually, Jeff Cohen, who's the founder of your firm, I met him when I was purchasing a mobile MRI machine. I had a friend who said, hey, can I don't have money for a mobile MRI. Can you buy one and I'll rent it from you? And I was like, I don't know anything about this, but I'll help you out, sure. And I went to Jeff Cohen to do the consult, and he told me, yeah, this is how we're going to set it up. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I was like, listen, man, I'm a lawyer. I don't want any problems. I said, are you sure this is good? He goes, I'm board certified healthcare attorney. You're good. This is how we're going to do it. It's legal. And we did that. I ended up selling that mobile MRI thing. The guy didn't pay me on time. I had to chase him down. I'm like, dude, I got into this thing for you. And then, now I have multiple MRI centers, and I've used your firm for help with all the paperwork, with all that stuff like that as well, getting agreements and contracts and stuff like that. So your firm's been a major resource for me, and so just highly recommended. That was the first thought when you said number one in the country. I was thinking your firm.
Yeah.
So tell me about that's a really cool background. So you started out working in primary care with the family business, and then kind of going into law school, and now you're doing representing people like your family. That's right. That what I always say to doctors and stuff like that is, I'm like, listen, medicine is easy. Healthcare laws are complicated, though. Right. And you're a doctor, you're not a lawyer. Right. So nobody expects you to know all the laws. And when you have a problem, sometimes, if you had consulted with an attorney first, you wouldn't be in this situation.
That's right.
And, a couple of dollars for medical providers, a couple of dollars spent now will save them tons of money later if they just talk about it first with a lawyer. And not just a lawyer, because I get people, oh, Abe, I talked to my buddy who, he does criminal defense work, and he said that I could do this. And I go, does he know about this, this, and this? And I'm not even like a healthcare attorney per se. I just, we do a lot of PIP suits at the firm, and we help doctors sometimes when they get in trouble with like these clawbacks that you guys do as well. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know about that. And I actually recommend your firm a ton, more than you guys know. I don't know how many people actually call, because I'm like, call these guys, because I don't want to deal with it. It's a really complicated stuff, healthcare law. So what are some of the areas? We were talking a little bit before, and you were telling me some of the practice areas that you guys do, and I didn't even know about these areas. And so tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing at your firm. Like what drives you right now? What's keeping you busy right now?
Yeah, so the Florida Healthcare Law Firm, ultimately we could represent clients nationwide. We have in-house lawyers that are barred in multiple states, and if not, we work with co-counsels throughout the country. We work with larger firms. The benefit of using us is that we are a boutique, all-in healthcare firm. We do everything that touches health law. We do it. So my range of representation goes from chiropractors to physical therapists to primary care doctors to all sorts of specialty: cardiology, orthopedic, ophthalmology, dentists. A lot of what I've been doing lately, and my specialty is I'm an M&A healthcare attorney. That's like 50% of what I do. Is I help practices when they want to sell or they want to buy, get them through the process of doing the deal. So there's M&A lawyers, and then there's healthcare lawyers that do M&A.
Okay.
So if you don't understand the healthcare laws and how they implicate in a transaction, and you violate one of the Stark laws, that there's exceptions on how to do these transactions, you're in a bad place, because now you've just violated a couple laws. So our experience is we shed the light of, from a healthcare perspective, if you want to get a transaction done, how do you get it done? We represent a lot of people that are in the personal injury space, which is how you and I connect a lot. I worked in the personal injury space at the beginning of my career, originally in the defense world. Then I went into the plaintiff world. But I did that. I always did it from the regulatory perspective. So I know a lot of providers always feel like they're in the dark when they receive letters from, for example, SIU, from an insurance company that may be asking them to repay money or stop doing services or something.
You were just talking how, I don't want to mention the insurance company, but they just sent a 16-page federal lawsuit.
60-page federal and Florida RICO against a anesthesiology group that we're taking on, that is essentially they're coming after them for medical necessity and essentially overpayment for services that they think they're not rendered, and overcharging on fee schedule, and issues that correlate with the PIP industry and correlate with the BI industry. But what happens is these insurance companies essentially have their policing powers, and their policing powers are, since they don't have a network contract with a provider, what governs them is essentially the PIP statute, or let's say the personal injury statute, negligence statute, case law. So they use these things called special investigation units to essentially work as their police. And they basically do audits and investigations, and then they use big-time law firms that recruit lawyers that used to be federal prosecutors. So when you're going to get on the other side of these people, it's not a joke. It's not something to be, nonchalant about. The lawyers on the other side, they're skilled, they're knowledgeable, they're very smart. They worked for the government. They persecuted for the government. So when they're coming after you, they're going to do it in that manner. I think it's always very, and you give this advice all the time, whenever you receive a letter like that, always consult legal counsel. That's some free legal advice right now. Always get that done. Don't guess it. Don't think, well, they haven't followed up, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah, I had this Italian doctor. He's like old school New York Italian guy. He goes, Abe, they didn't send it certified. I can't do anything. I go, don't worry if it's certified or not. And he got the certified letter in the mail a few days later, but I said, that's not a thing. It's coming either way. You know, they have emails now. So don't worry about it. Just because, like you said, just because it's a letter doesn't mean that it's not serious.
Yeah.
And what I tell the clients too is I say, consider yourself lucky because had they publicly filed this lawsuit first, which would be within their rights, everyone would know about it. You would end up on the news, etc. I said, consider yourself lucky. You have an opportunity to possibly resolve this confidentially. Yeah. And so that's a plus too, because nobody wants their reputation dragged through the mud. You know, obviously the lawsuit is just an allegation. It doesn't mean that it's factual, but in the way things are these days, you're guilty until proven innocent. Right. Everybody assumes the worst until the facts come out. And so that's awesome. So you guys do a lot of clawbacks?
Yes, we do a lot of clawback actions representing providers that SIU is coming either in the PIP industry, BI, letters of protection issues. We do commercial insurance. I do CMS clawbacks as well. CMS is coming in and they're using their MAC, which is their Medicare auditors that are coming in, and they're alleging medical necessity issues. Typically, that's the problem. We've done Medicaid audits. I've represented some behavioral health providers that have had issues. So that's been an upcoming trend, right? So since COVID, there's been a lot of use of telemedicine, right? Telehealth. That's a new way of contacting patients and connecting with their providers. So there's been a lot of regulation on that and the overutilization of it. And there's some policing coming in. So,
Is there any specific issue with telehealth that maybe somebody watching this might want to know about? Like just
basic? So the issues with telehealth are usually is the provider is not licensed in the state, and or they're not following the procedure to be able to perform in the state, and now they're doing unauthorized practice of medicine. So it becomes almost like a Department of Health issue, and it always gets discovered as when you start to submit the billing. And the MPI, so because when you submit a bill, right, you use a HIPAA 1500 usually form, and there's the provider's license and their MPI, and that's how they can determine like where you're licensed, because your CAQH will determine where your license is registered. So that's how they usually discover if you're practicing outside your state. So that's been like the telehealth concern and issue. So that's what providers
that's like the big issue to watch out for is that, with the AKKA license. The big issue that I've noticed is you get a lot of these, quote, EMC guys. Oh, I'll come do the EMC at your office. I'll come by. They have an AKKA license to be wait, do you say AKKA or AKKA? What do you say?
It's AKKA.
It is AKKA. Yeah. Okay. Somebody corrected me once. I said, what? I said it's potato, man. I don't care. But anyways, AKKA, Agency for Healthcare Administration, they give you a license for that specific location unless it's a like a mobile imaging or a mobile requirement. And these guys will go from chiropractor office to chiropractor office. And then one day the insurance company says, wait a second, this guy's he doesn't have 10, 50 licenses, for each office that he goes to. And I've noticed that's a new trend is they're going after the EMC doctor on those grounds. And then they're tacking on, everybody gets an EMC, an emergency medical condition determination, and all that jazz. And so interesting. I never thought about Medicare. I had a cardiologist. He told me that, first he told me I was going to have a heart attack if I didn't lose 30 pounds in 6 months. So I took that serious. I went vegan for a year. I lost 30 pounds. And then I started eating meat again. I'm a garbage human being. I was like, I lost 30 pounds and I gained it all back. But he told me that all his buddies right here in town had some kind of Medicare issue. Cardiologists, they're all terrified of their patient having a heart attack. So they all bill a level 5 exam and they perform the work for it to justify the code. And then what he said was Medicare came in. They said, how many Medicare patients did you see this year? They said 1,000. So they said, all right, we're going to go through 10 files. And they went through 10 files. They said 99205 was billed 8 out of 10 times. So they said 80% of your stuff, or whatever that correlates to, that number, they said, you need to pay us back. We think that 99205 is overbilled here. And the guy's like, but if they have a heart attack, I'm going to get sued. And they clawed back. They wanted $500,000 from the cardiologist. And he said, I'm just going to retire. Keep whatever you have for me. I don't want to pay you. And you guys handle stuff like that.
We do.
And are you guys typically able to negotiate that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So our team is skilled. I, for the most part, am the one main person right now at the firm handling these kind of issues. I have a team of experts that I use, auditors that are specialized in coding and billing practices. So I have people that are from big companies to very small niche. So depending on your price range for the physicians out there, I'm price sensitive. So I'll work with you guys. So I get them in on board very fast. I send a letter of representation usually to the payors, and I tell them, stop the brakes, put everything on hold. We need to investigate this. We have our due diligence period that we're going to do, and we investigate. And then we craft a response. And usually through that response is when I'm able to either negotiate to reduce the amount or make it go away. Let's say that some information wasn't properly sent over. We use their grievance processes, and that's how we're able to make adjustments. Because if you're dealing with commercial insurance, there's typically, or Medicare, Medicaid, you're in a contract. So there's grievance policies.
Okay.
The unfortunate part for PIP and BI is there is none. There's no contract. You're just playing by statute.
Okay.
Which is why you help them, right? Because that's how what you do is you go after money that they're owed.
On the PIP suit side,
Right. So, definitely we do help providers that they have questions relating to clawback issues. And like I was telling you earlier, it's always advisable, never self-diagnose and self-treat. So as a provider, your duty is bring the patient, analyze, prescribe, and then give them the treatment plan. We do the same thing as lawyers. We get our clients come in, we analyze the issue, we then put the prescription of what they got to do, and then we submit the plan. And that's how we work.
Yeah, awesome. It drives me crazy. The healthcare reimbursements are going so low that it's almost like we're going to go to socialized medicine, but that's for another day.
Yeah.
But the doctors, and I'm not saying doctors are poor, but the profit margin has gone down, so it's making it harder. That's why these guys are all like joining together, merging, and that's what's keeping you busy, I'm sure, is because the reimbursements are so low. So the only way to really make money is to expand the practice. And then these guys come in and they say, we're doing a clawback. We want $500,000 back. And that could kill any business. $500,000 required back. And so, it's good to know that you guys can help doctors in that situation. And you guys use billing experts to review files. And there's a lot of doctors out there. They're amazing doctors. They're really shitty at note-taking, documentation. Doctors don't do billing. Their biller does the billing. And so they don't know that the biller is coding this code or that code always. Yes, everybody's responsible for what they bill, that they sign the HIPAA, CMS 1500 form. They're responsible. But at the same time, it's like, I'm a doctor. I treat people. I heal people. I get them better. And then to have this kind of stuff come back, it's difficult. So it's nice to know that you guys do that. What else do you guys do? You were talking to me about some kind of the HIV stuff. What do you guys do with that?
So
that
some
sounded
340B
interesting.
advisement. But before we get into 340B, I want to say one last thing. So here's the trend, right? So healthcare's gotten bigger, right? So we know that essentially there's payors out there have gobbled up everything. And the government has also started to use these payors through these things called TPAs, third-party administrators. And that's how they've gotten so good at the auditing and clawback process. Because what they're using is these big companies that have massive amounts of auditors. That's all they're doing. Their job is to figure out what are we not going to pay and delay on. You've probably seen in the news that there's all these lawsuits against these big plans that are being charged with using algorithms to basically stop payment on things and not get things. I mean, that's been done. It's been being done. It's just now it's being discovered and people are bringing it up. So before we move on to the next topic, I just wanted to say, listen, the battle is against you. You need to prepare yourself, and the only way that you can really solidify revenue in healthcare is through compliance, because that's the foundation of revenue in healthcare.
Nice.
So
that's a catchphrase, dude. I like that.
That's my phrase. My phrase usually the trend in healthcare is if you want to be revenue flowing, be compliant, and you can testify to that all day, because I know you deal with that in your clients. That you tell them, if we're compliant, you guys are gonna be good.
Yeah. Awesome.
Talking about the 340B. So, we have I do some lab work, but I have a lab work and pharmacy work, and we do subspecialties as well in our office. We have Rachel Broughton. She's one of our lawyers. She does representations for pharmacies. And there's a trend in pharmacy, which is 340B. And 340B is a program that's out there by the government to treat patients who are HIV positive, are prone to getting HIV or prone to getting STDs. So there's a thing called PrEP kits.
Yeah.
And so there's providers out there like primaries that are working with these patients to prevent them in areas where there's high exposure. So they work with pharmacies who hold the drugs and then dispense them on behalf of the providers. Because providers aren't allowed to dispense that kind of drug because through their dispensing license, it's not accurate. The government requires that a pharmacy actually do the dispensing.
Okay.
So there's an uptick in trend in that, but there's also been, I've seen some cases that are popping up now where there's some government investigation into it because, there's an overutilization issue happening. So that's the thing in healthcare. Anything that is revenuing heavily is always going to be under scope and under sight.
Yeah,
that's something to keep in.
Yeah, that was we were chatting earlier, and one of the guys that I know, he has a PT clinic, and next door is an HIV pharmacy. The guy works 3 days a week, and he tells his neighbor, "Oh, I'm making $20,000 a month or $20,000 a day." I think it was $20,000 a day or $20,000 a week, and I was like, and the guy's only there 3 days a week. And he says, "Nah, man, I get the prescriptions. I mail out the drugs to the people, and that's all I do. Like, no people coming in his office, out of his office." So the PT guy is struggling. They got to see the patient in person. The patient doesn't show. They cancel. The PT calls out sick. He's like, "Dude, this guy has it made in the shade." Mm-hmm. And I go, "I don't know, man. I said, I hope that guy has a lawyer." I did say that. I said, "I hope that guy has a lawyer because you don't make easy money in healthcare."
That's right.
You don't make easy money in healthcare. Everybody I know in healthcare says, "Oh, easy money." Problems, jail, clawbacks, stuff like that. Actually, in our building here, I don't want to mention the name, but there was they owned all the space in this building at one point. It was a compound pharmacy.
Oh.
And they were popping up, and they were billing $8,000 to Medicare, Blue Cross, everybody for. They said like, "Oh, it's like instead of you taking, opioids, what if we put it in a cream and you rub it on your shoulder and now your shoulder feels better?" And what I instantly knew was that it was all kickbacks. The doctors, if you're billing $8,000, you have some money to share with the referring physician, and that's what you can't do.
Right.
But that's what they were doing. And I remember I told my brother, I said, "Dude, those guys are going to jail." And he goes, No, they're super nice. And I'm not kidding you, within a year, the DEA raided this very same building. Yeah. And those guys all went to jail. They're just getting out now.
Yeah.
And so no such thing as easy money in healthcare.
Right.
And if there is, still consult with you to
make
sure.
I mean, there's lucrative and creative ways to make money in healthcare, but you need to do it compliantly. You need to do it through the guidance of the law. The law is not I think that a lot of our clients originally, they are afraid and they think that the law is just there to prevent me from making money. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. The law, there's exceptions, and then there's safe harbors to certain laws. Big ones are being the anti-kickback statute, the Stark law. People know those names, but each state has their own versions of those laws. And unless you have a lawyer that understands them thoroughly and through, you're not going to be able to navigate them on a whim just reading the statute and you determine that.
They're so complicated.
Because the strict liability is the standard for the most part, which is it doesn't matter if you had intent for the most part. It's all about action. So if you did it, even if you didn't intend to do it, you're guilty.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I lectured to a lot of chiropractors about the laws and the ethics and the rules. Yeah. And they're like some of the stuff I'm like, wait, what did I just read? I got to read it again. And it's there, and it's very complex, especially when you talk about the federal laws. Yeah. I mean, who really even understands HIPAA? I mean, you probably do, but it's a really long section of the law. It's not a paragraph, and it can be intense. And are you noticing anything with data breaches and HIPAA and all that? Are you guys hearing about that?
So it was there's been in the beginning, I think not in the beginning, but I think in the late teens, we saw a lot of upticks of companies that were being targeted, like bigger companies, web-based type companies. If you guys remember the Equifax case, that was one of the big ones. healthcare providers, hospital systems, payors, they're like the premium target for that because think about it. If you have in a demographic form of a patient, what do you have? You've got their name, address, you've got their Medicare number, Medicare cards, you've if they have that, whatever their insurance may be, Social Security, license number. Essentially, your entire identity is provided when you do medical services. So healthcare providers need to be very careful on breaches, and they've been subject to targeting. If you've seen in the news, it's been mostly hospitals that are targeted. It's payors that are targeted. And there's specialists that just do that. So I work with bigger firms. Actually, it's funny. I was talking to my resource. She's over at Fox Rothschild. It's a bigger firm. She's based out of New Jersey, and that's all she handles is those kind of lawsuits. It's like when even a state-based entity gets states also get hacked and have information.
That happened recently. I forget which department in Florida, but they got hacked. Yeah, they couldn't get their own records. Some department.
That's right. So that is
the school board. It was an educational Palm Beach School Board or something like that. Yeah.
So states and even the government is subjected to those laws, and there's not just HIPAA, but there's high tech, which is the electronic form of protection of healthcare records. Then you've got state versions. Like in Florida, we have the Florida Information Protection Act, which is anybody that's in the service industry has the duty to protect people's information, and there's certain metrics that you must meet.
Okay.
So at the federal level, you have the OCR, Office of Civil Rights. In Florida, we have our own level of OCR that processes those types of claims. Although a patient can't sue, let's say, somebody that gets their data breached, the government can sue on their behalf and come after you for civil penalties and et cetera.
Yeah. So and you can also get I've seen, it's funny because there's certain doctors that all they do is personal injury. They don't take health insurance. That's fine, but I saw Morgan & Morgan was suing this orthopedic group for a data breach, and I go, that's interesting. I go, who at that ortho group pissed off somebody at Morgan & Morgan on a personal injury case? And it was a data breach, and I was like, how did they even know? And I was thinking it could be one of their clients, one of Morgan & Morgan's clients, treated at that ortho group. And I found out there's a website where you could these big groups are required to communicate, to self-report.
That's right.
When they have a data breach.
That's right.
I think it's if they have more than 17,000 patients on their log.
Well, the threshold is 500. So if you have more than 500 breach, then actual compromised records, and there's HIPAA experts out there. I mean, I know HIPAA, but there's people that's all they do, right? They do. So if you have any of those issues, let me know. I'll connect you with that person. But yeah, it's 500 or more, and then you have to self-report, and you may be required to pay for that person's monitoring for, I believe it's up to 3 years of their credit report. Because now with that data now being in the dark web, that's reason people are selling that off, and that is causing essentially your record to be tainted. So very important to have some sort of credit bureau that's tracking your credit. I know it's off topic for healthcare, but something to keep in mind because it is a risky thing.
Yeah, I think that's that's where a lot of personal injury lawyers may go, is that data route, that data breach route, because to me, it makes sense. There's all these guys. I found a doctor who has people working for him in the Philippines, overseas, from their house. And I go, don't you think it's weird that somebody's in the Philippines working from their house with all your patient information just there? They could print it, they could email it, and you have – a lot of these doctors have the worst IT system ever. Just drives me crazy, but and they're like, oh, it's no big deal. Those Filipino guys are great, man, super nice people. And I go, yeah, until they're not, until
well,
they're pissed.
It's funny you're talking about that, because actually when I was talking to my source over at Fox, she was telling me, I was telling her about Florida just released a law. So Governor DeSantis just released a new law that says that healthcare information that is being held outside of the U.S., Canada, or any of the U.S. territories that is patient access information essentially is illegal, and you can't do it.
Really?
So all your data now has to be maintained on U.S.-based servers. So for EMR companies, right, pharmacies, let's say that you're a provider and you use a call center, and your people are using your EMR in another call center in, let's call it the Dominican Republic, very common. Dominican Republic, they have call centers.
Yeah.
And your data is being stored offshore, you can be violating that new law.
Wow.
So that's recent. That just happened.
Gotta look into that.
Yeah, that's a new law that just happened.
Really? Wow.
And we don't know where it's going to go. But guess what? It's in play. It was effective. I think it was in June that it came in.
Wow.
And we'll talk about it later, and maybe we can release a co-article on that, because
I love that.
I think that one I've been getting calls about. People are freaking out. They're like, wait, I use a call center in the Philippines. What do I do? And I'm like, it's time to get the data back.
Yeah.
Put
call
it over
center in
here.
Colombia.
That's another one. So states are releasing these kind of laws, so you don't have to just only focus on HIPAA. You got to focus on the statewide, because state can also protect. And the way I like to explain it is, the government sets the parameter, and then the states just narrow in. The government's broad, but the states always narrow in.
Yeah.
So, and that's what's happening with that.
Right. Awesome, man. I didn't think I was gonna learn so much today, dude.
Yeah. We gotta spend more time together.
Man, you know so much about healthcare. I'm super impressed. That's really incredible information. You're up to date. The truth is, healthcare law is constantly evolving. Yeah. So if you go to a guy who dibbles and dabbles, in healthcare law, like, I could give people basic general advice, but when you want to get into complex stuff, this is why, we need guys that specialize in healthcare law. Yeah. And that's the main focus of the group, is because there's just it's a moving target. Yeah. What's legal today is not legal in 5 years, Yeah. So that's incredible. What other stuff do you want to tell us? Man, I'm learning. Dennis, get me notes. I need to write this stuff down.
Well, it's there's a lot happening right now in healthcare. I think this year, at least, I recently attended the health law section for the Florida Bar meeting. I'm one of the members in the health law section. Oh, cool. And we were talking about all the legislative changes of this year. And there is, I think it was like over 100 new laws that came in play that involve healthcare.
Wow.
And our firm has been slowly releasing articles as it relates to those changes. And everybody that's a specialist, so like, I'm a group practice guy. I represent physicians mostly. But we got like a hospital guy. We've got people that only do like home health agencies and nursing homes. We've got somebody that only does like international healthcare. Stephen Boyne at our office, he's a UK lawyer that's also barred in the United States.
You guys were big with the drug rehab facilities for many years. You guys had a couple trials and stuff like that.
We still do that, yeah. Okay. So Rachel Broughton in our office and Jeff Cohen, they're handling those types of sober home type
sober
issues.
Homes, yeah.
And like, there's always there's a lot happening right now, though. It seems like this year everybody woke up from COVID, and there's a lot coming out. And I think we had time, or at least the government had time, to analyze what is where the pitfalls were. So, like, for example, as you've probably heard, like, there's been a Medicaid issue where they removed a bunch of Medicaid beneficiaries post-COVID. Yeah. And now there's a care issue, because these people that were using that benefits to pay for their care, what's going to happen to them? So these are all trending issues that are affecting other industries. Like, what were the biggest problems, right? Like behavioral health, big one. During COVID, lots of depression, right? The elderly, they were stuck in their homes, couldn't go anywhere, a lot of depression issues. We're talking about telehealth. That's how they were doing it. That's being wiped away. So, the best thing to do is, when you're going to engage an expert, like, for example, as a physician, that if you have a heart problem, you're going to a cardiologist. If you got a leg issue, it's a bone structural issue, you're going to orthopedic. In healthcare, we have our specialists. Like, what I do, health law, that's all I do. That's what I specialize in. Abe, your PI industry, you do PIP, you're a pro in that. That's your thing. You don't dabble, you're an expert in that, right? And I think that as physicians need to treat us in that same way. Just because you have a lawyer who may be your corporate lawyer doesn't mean they're up tuned with the laws. Right. We're attending conventions that we're learning about the new trends. Like, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be in Baltimore for a full week at the Fraud and Abuse Convention for compliance. Okay. American Health Lawyer Association's throwing a big function up there. Okay. So I'm going all the way to Baltimore to learn about what is happening and what's going to happen in the future. And then I can now come back down here and communicate that to my clients. So we invest in knowledge so that we can share it with our clients, and it's,
Incredible. Awesome, man. Let's learn a little bit about you. Okay. You got a baby face. How old are you?
35.
35. Okay. I remember 35. That wasn't too long ago. I just turned 39. Yeah. My 35th birthday, my wife got me a cake that accidentally said 36. Oh. So I'm finally catching up now, because she screwed up my whole brain, because I was like, wait, am I 35? Am I 36? And from that moment on, but now it took me a couple years. I know I'm 39, but yeah, dude, that's awesome. And you're super accomplished for a 35-year-old. I love that about you. You're first of all, top-notch legal mind, and then on top of that, you're a hustler. You're moving and shaking, and you're doing things like this so people can get out there and know you, and I love that. What do you like to do on your free time? You're not doing legal work. You're just on your own. What do you like to do?
Yeah. So it's funny because at our office, we're like it's a lax environment in the sense that we have the skill sets of like the large, big health law firms, but the culture is like key for us. Like we're just very relaxed environment.
Not uptight. Not
yeah.
stuffy.
Like we're very chill into that perspective because there's no need to make this more than it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a car guy. Love cars. Love working on cars.
Oh, wow.
I'm really big into wine.
Okay.
Love wine. During COVID, it's funny because my wife's like, I benefit from the fruits of your labor. During COVID, a lot of my clients didn't have a lot of work that was coming because, the government was basically shut down. A lot of things happened. So I bought textbooks on wine, and I memorized like all the wineries in Europe and in Napa, and I just became like a wine expert. And I started teaching myself about macrodation of vineyard plots, and I was like, you know what? I'm wasting away here. I'm just gonna learn a new hobby, and I picked up wine. I've always liked it. I've always been into it. Cool. What else? So I like to golf. I'm pretty much a family guy. I've got 2 young kids.
Oh, cool. How old?
I've got a 1-year-old, and I've got a soon-to-be 5-year-old.
Oof.
My wife's also a lawyer. She's an estate planner.
Oh, okay.
She's at Fox Rothschild.
Oh, okay.
So she's in a big firm. So it's different because I'm in a smaller firm and she's in a big firm, but we both get to share the benefits of both, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a family man. I mean, for the most part, I'm either home with my kids, and when I'm not, I'm working and I'm servicing my clients. And I love what I do. It's my passion. I know a lot of lawyers complain they don't love what they do. Yeah. I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love, like somebody was asking me yesterday, how could you do this all day long? How could you just read this stuff? And I said, honestly, if you came to me with a problem and you said, I'm about to lose everything because of this problem, I make it my life mission to figure out how to not make that your reality anymore.
Hell yeah.
Like I'm passionate about that.
Yeah.
It lights me up.
Right.
So I really went into this business, into the legal business, to help people. It happened to be physicians. That just is what it was. But I always knew that, I wanted to do something like that in my life, was be a helper, help, make it better.
Right. So. No, that's awesome. You could tell the passion that you have, especially for physicians. You could just tell when we were talking earlier as well. So I will tell you, it gets better. Okay. 1 year old is tough. I remember the first 2 years, I was like, man, these kids are just wearing me down. You got to pick them up. You got to feed them. They're screaming all the time. And I'm like, man, they're tough. But when they get like 6 years old, they're like fun. So yeah, my kid now is 10. My boy 10 and my daughter 8. And my daughter thinks she's 18. She's highs and lows with the emotions. She's all over the place. 1 minute she's crying, the next minute she's laughing. I don't know. I'm terrified of women. And then my son is 10, and he's my best friend. He hangs out with me. He's chill. He just wants the iPad a lot more than than my real best friend my age. He just wants the iPad a little bit more. But it's cool. You got boys, girls?
I got 2 boys.
Oh, okay. Oh man, you poor bastard.
Oh yeah.
They're like roughhousing and stuff.
Oh, they are. So Thomas, my 5-year-old, he's like getting rough with the little one. He's picking him up. He's trying to be his he calls him baby. I'm like, his name is Alex. Like, call him his name. No, this is our baby. I'm like, he's not your baby. He's my baby. But it's fun having little kids, and it really brings everything down for you, right? Like it just, you start to realize what's important in life, and it's passing down legacy, passing down heritage, passing down what you've learned. That's what I plan to do with my kids. Is just teach them everything that, like, my dad taught me everything he knew. I come from a family of immigrants, so it was very rough growing up. It was rougher for them. So I always grew up hearing that, when I was growing up, it wasn't this easy. So for my kids, I feel like, I think society has gotten a little bit easier in the United States to grow up than it was once because social media and the internet. But I think it's important to put that message to our children that, hard work gets it done. There's no free lunches.
Yeah, no such thing as a free lunch. Tin Staffel. I learned that in high school, dude. Awesome. What favorite car?
Favorite car? Well, that's the dream car, right? So the dream car is Porsche 911 GT3. Love the 992. The new one is wicked with the wing that does the DRS.
We got to get a picture of that up so we can see it.
Yeah, I love Formula One. I'm a big Formula One guy. That's the sport I follow.
Have you been here to the
I've
Miami
been
one?
to Miami two times.
Okay.
Going back again next year. I bought my
Worth
tickets
it?
already. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. It really gives it. I think Miami is a melting pot of European nations, South American nations. In Mexico they got Checo, who races for Red Bull.
Okay.
He's like the big guy there. Sergio Perez, that's his name. But Checo's his nickname.
Okay.
So for the Mexicans out there, Checo's like their hero, and it's crazy. Like when they race in Mexico, it's like the country shuts down because Formula One's happening. I think Formula One will pick up here, and but anyways, Porsche 911 GT3, love it. Love the technology. I currently drive a BMW M3.
Okay.
That was my dream car growing up. Had that poster in my room. As a little kid, I always said one day I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And honestly, through all the hard times in college and in law school and the tribulations, I always said, gotta get the M3. Only one way to do it. Gotta go to school. Gotta learn. Gotta work hard.
That was a motivator.
That was a motivator,
Yeah.
and I have it now, and it lights me up.
Cool.
It's a fully built M3, so
Yeah.
I'm a car junkie.
Okay. Cool, man. Yeah, I can tell. When I asked him his favorite car, he started going good. So all right, and let me ask you this question: any person in history, alive, dead, who would you have a drink with? What would you drink?
Hey, this is a hard one. You're a history major. I'm a history major.
That's right.
You already know we know history. I think that, just because I think when I was at FIU finishing my history degree, we did a lot of colonial history and we did American history. I think Abraham Lincoln would be somebody I'd want to do. You know why? Because, as much as sometimes we think it's hard, like I can only imagine how hard it must be to see your country ripping itself apart. That, by the way, is one of my biggest fears. Like, I love our country. I love America, and I'm a proud American. Love this country. My parents immigrated here because they didn't have benefits in their country. So for me, I'm very proud of who we are and what we stand for. So I think he's the foundation of really modern American. Like, he's the iconic guy. And founder of the Republican Party. The guy had views, he had ideas, and he stood, against all forms of combat. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So Abe Lincoln.
Let's
and
go.
I would probably, in those days, they didn't really drink wine like we do now. So probably crack. And I love tequila. That's my thing. But I'll pull out a scotch.
Okay.
Single malt.
Yeah.
It's very Abraham Lincolnish.
I think so. I like that. Yeah. Awesome, man. It's funny. I remember, I'm so cheesy. I remember when I first got my license, the Florida bar rules, I was reading them about advertising and whatnot. And I was like, can I market myself as Abraham Ovadia / like Abraham Lincoln, wear a top hat, have the beard, wear the suit and stuff like that, and just go around saying, 4score and all that. And they go, you could wear a top hat, but you can't, the Florida bar is very you can wear a top hat, but you can't say the word Lincoln in the same advertisement because it could be confusing. People could think you're Abraham Lincoln, and the guy's been dead for a minute. I don't think I knew it was going to confuse us, but sure. But yeah, awesome. Really cool. So Carlos, thanks for being on the podcast. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. So Carlos Arce from the Florida Healthcare Law Firm. You can reach me via email at carlos@Florida spelled out, healthcare spelled out, lawfirm spelled out.com. Look us up on the web. I have my socials that are being posted here. You can reach out to me on Instagram. Easiest way to reach me is via my email. I'm checking that consistently. Looking forward to talking to you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks,
really
Abe. Thanks
cool.
for having me.
I'm hoping to collaborate with you in the future. I learned a lot today. Thanks.